Hello and welcome. My name is Ray, and this is Ray of Light Readings. I wanted to talk today a little bit about the tendency for certain people to attract um, common themes in not only in their readings but throughout their life, and how to find significance in that. So I wanted to share a little bit about my own story doing so, and hopefully maybe this resonates with a few people. And I'd love to hear some comments and feedback about how that is manifested for people throughout their lives. Um, so I have found, as I've done readings for folks, doing human design readings in particular, I can usually um, peg whether or not someone is a sacral type or not. I can usually hone in onto whether or not they are a manifester. But I will be honest, until I really sit down with someone, I have a hard time figuring out if they're a projector. I say that as a projector. I don't know why, but I struggle with that a little bit. I can feel that warm sacral aura coming off of someone. I can feel that sort of uh, brute force of a manifester coming against me. But something about that projector, I kind of have to take a step back for a second. Um, but what I find a little uncanny is that as a 6'2", I find that I not only attract a lot of other 6'2s, but I also attract a lot of line 3s. Now, in that, I have some 1 3s and I have some 3 5s, but I do not have a lot of line 4s in my life. I have not done a reading for anyone who has a 4 in their profile line, and no one in my personal life does either. And I have kind of taken the time to sit and assess that because I think there's got to be something about the way that we attract people on our paths where we either have similar frequencies, where we need to teach something or we need to be taught. And as a 6'2", of course, I'm always looking for good role models. And I have found that all of my friends and partners over the first 30 years of my life had a line 3 in their profile line. So whether they were a 1 3 or a 3 5, those are the two that I just have rampant in my life. I'm not complaining. I love them. um, but it's true of my sister. It's been true of my ex-fiance. It was true of most of my friends. I've got a couple of 6'2s that entered later in my life, but none before my Saturn return, which I thought was interesting. Um, and I think the reason being is because I was going through that sort of third line arc that 6'2s go through for the first 30-ish years. And I was really drawn to other people who are also experiencing that. And to me, I saw them as role models because of the way that they could enter into things, do it, learn from it, and move on to the next thing. Because I was trying to do that, but it felt very restrictive to me based on my upbringing. Um, and I'm going to talk in a moment about astrological alignments as well, because that also tended to be true. But once I really started tracking that, I noticed a trend. And I realized how much I admired all of these people for being able to start endeavors in one way or another, whether that was career or relationships or school or personal projects or whatever it might have been, the way that they were able and willing to sort of pick up and try something new, pick up and try something new. Because I always felt like that sort of a jack of all trades. I'm like, I can't settle, I can't figure it out. And I loved other people who were doing something similar. It made me feel at home. And I think now that I've gone through that phase, all of a sudden I'm attracting a lot of 6'2s. All of a sudden, the 3 of the 4 people I've tried to date recently are all 6'2s. A couple of people that I work with that I've gotten really close with, and I was like, the more I got to know them, before you do that kind of obnoxious thing where you say, "Oh, by the way, do you know when you were born?" You're trying to keep your professional life for your 9 to 5 separate. Doesn't really work for too long. Um, and I feel like I can kind of sniff them out at this point. Now, if someone walks up to me and they are a 1 3, I might recognize that third line, but that investigator, I don't know, it doesn't like resonate to me as much. I don't hear that bell ringing. But I can walk up to somebody and I can say, "You have a 6 or a 2 in there somewhere." I just know it. And I'm right almost every time. And I think that we are all sort of on these mutual paths. And I would be very curious to know, for the people watching, if you have noticed any trends, if you have had the luxury of being able to look at the charts of your loved ones, your friends, your coworkers, your family, um, to see if they also follow certain trends for you in one way or another. Um, Now, I will also admit that I have not had any other projectors in my life until this past couple of years. And at first, I was very excited about it. And then it actually became very difficult because it can show you who is on their healing journey and who isn't. And as projectors, we are very predisposed to codependency, and also, I think, being projected onto. And I found that the generators and manifesting generators in my life, I don't have that many manifestors. I only got a couple. And I love them, but I can only spend a little bit of time around them. um, they really don't project onto me that heavily. But the projectors that I met, as deeply as we bonded, I found that it wasn't sustainable, because all of a sudden, everything that I saw in them as true to them, for things I didn't judge them for, all of a sudden, those were things that had to be true about me, even though they weren't. Um, and so, as much as I was excited to meet other projectors, I also kind of started to say, like, well, maybe it's kind of a good thing we're not all over the place. um, I can't connect with somebody for, 15 hours a week because they need that much one-on-one time, but they can't get it from anyone else because they love the way I plug into them. Um, and I realized I have to be around more sacral types. And that's true for me. It might not be for other projectors. Um, and as far as astrology goes, I have found that I have attracted a lot, and I mean a lot, a lot. Some people might hate this, by the way. I don't. I love it. A lot of Libras and a lot of Geminis in my life. I also got a good amount of Aries in there. Those are all in my big three. But I found that I can't really do much uh, earth energy. I can't do a whole lot of water energy. I can do some. I can do a lot of fire and air energy. And looking at, I mean, at this point in my life, I don't really need to look at the charts. I can just be around a person and tell what elements are dominant in their chart. Um, but I can't do a lot of cardinal or fixed earth energy. Capricorn and Taurus tends to be very hard for me to be around, unless they've got a lot of other fire in their chart. Um, but Virgo, I can do. I get along great with Virgos, but my Sun and Mercury sit in the sixth house. So even though I don't have any major Virgo placements aside from my Chiron, I've got a lot of sixth house energy. So I do well with other Virgo placements and well with other sixth housers. And so I've attracted a lot of Virgos into my life. My ex fiance was a Virgo stellium, and we are still good friends. We still get along wonderfully, and that's another thing that I tend to attract in as a lasting bond is other sixth housers and other Virgo placements. I do well with Gemini placements as well, and I'm again, I'm curious if that has been true for anyone else, if they find that as they've moved through life, what is your collection of people been, and how does that align with your own chart? Um, I think it's very true of who we are as people that we attract like energies. And I think I'm going to upload another video here as well about some of the more catalytic parts of who we are, because these are the compatible elements, but I think we also have constructive elements of ourselves. And I think I want to maybe make a separate short video about that as well. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.